We've been married for 5 years, and when we first got together, we both enjoyed drinking. However, I later discovered that my wife has developed a constant reliance on alcohol, although she denies it. She watches a show called Intervention and tries to convince me that she's not as bad as the people on that show. But the truth is, everything terrible that has happened is a direct result of her drinking. She's had online affairs while under the influence, and now I've recently learned that she had closeness with an ex-boyfriend. I'm still in shock. I only found out about all of this last week. I just want to get it over with and divorce her. However, I know that the process will be costly and filled with ugliness. I'm well aware that it will turn into a nasty situation because she's vindictive and filled with rage. She has even shared with me all the awful things she's done in her past relationships. Yeah, I know the typical response would be to grow a pair. That's what you'd hear from a typical Redditor. As I sit here writing this after coming home from work, I just found out that she's been drinking and hiding it from me. She claims she wants her space. I'm feeling angry, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm just dragging out the inevitable. Despite her expressing remorse, she would rather drown her problems in alcohol than work on our relationship. There are numerous other issues, but for now, I wanted to focus on the main ones after a while. Does anyone have advice on how to get my cheating wife to leave my house during the divorce? I've been doing some research and came across the concept of exclusive occupancy if you can provide valid reasons. Well, my wife is an offensive drinker, and emotionally she frequently yells, screams, and becomes threatening. Although I don't have concrete evidence, I do have some videos of her passed out. My father and I are co-owners of the house. After she quit her job, I discovered she was cheating on me. I've asked her to leave, but she refuses and seems determined to make things as difficult as possible. She won't listen to reason, so how can I legally get her out of here? I don't have any evidence of her offending me, so getting a restraining order is not an option. My soon-to-be ex believes she can sell the house and claim half of it. However, lawyers have told me otherwise. The house is in both my father's and my name. It was actually a gift to me before I even met my STBX. We've only been together for 7 years, and in the state of Ohio, 10 years would have made a difference. We don't have any children. She has cheated on me multiple times, and I have proof. Although Ohio is a no-fault state, my lawyer mentioned that the judge would likely be more sympathetic towards me in any settlements. She was fired from her job for showing up intoxicated, and I have documented everything. So if I were to take a vindictive approach, what could I do to really mess with her? I'm feeling very emotional and upset right now, so maybe I would change my mind when I calm down. I'm not saying I would actually consider it, but it would feel satisfying to give her a taste of her own medicine because she has treated me offensively. Under the influence, she becomes a completely different person. Yet she blames me for all her problems, as many heavy drinkers tend to do. My soon-to-be ex got drunk and took all her pills. She is currently in the hospital under observation. Despite this difficult situation, I am determined to move forward with our divorce. I understand that it might seem like a terrible time to proceed with the divorce, but I have reached a point where I'm ready to finally move on. It turns out that she has been having an affair with the son of her best friend, who is around 22 years old. She is 43, and I am 47, have been through multiple attempts at marriage counseling and dealing with her substance offense issues. There was a glimmer of hope when she considered attending AA and starting a genuine recovery program as advised by her counselor. However, instead of taking that path, she went on another drinking binge. Additionally, she tried to reconcile with the 22-year-old with whom she has been having an on-and-off affair. They even met and had closeness a few weeks ago while she claimed she was visiting her mother. However, this past weekend, they had an argument via text, and while she was drunk and upset, he wanted to end the relationship. My intoxicated STBX told me that this incident was a major factor in her ending attempt. I took care of her, drove her to the emergency room, and visited her during this difficult time. However, I can't say I'm fully sympathetic due to just finding out about her lying about visiting her mother and reigniting this affair, which she had previously told me was over. I've been doing my best to take care of myself following the principles of Al-Anon, and I've come to the realization that this tumultuous roller coaster of a marriage needs to come to an end. We've tried various counseling sessions, and she's made multiple attempts to quit drinking. But unfortunately, she keeps relapsing and hitting rock bottom. This is now the second time she has tried to take her own life. She was even fired from her previous job for showing up intoxicated. Additionally, she has engaged in multiple affairs that began on Facebook and escalated to encounters. I don't know if she would have engaged in these affairs if she were sober and less uninhibited, but I feel like I've given her enough chances. It seems like she just uses me to continue her destructive drinking lifestyle. I've always been there to pick up the pieces, pay for her hospital bills, and even drove her to the emergency room just 2 days ago. I realize now that I have allowed myself to be treated as a doormat. I had believed that I could save her, and I still care for her, but she has broken my heart for the last time. When I called her at the hospital, she asked me for a favor to retrieve the phone number of this 22-year-old guy from her cell so she could make him feel guilty, blaming him for her current situation. Due to safety reasons, the hospital doesn't allow her to have her phone or many other personal items. I don't know if she's heavily medicated, but her request to contact this guy upset me deeply. It made me feel like she truly didn't care about me or our marriage. This led to an argument that turned ugly, which I tried to avoid, but it seemed like she only cared about reaching out to this guy. Anyway, I've made up my mind, and I want to proceed with the divorce now. I've been backing out at the last moment, mostly because of financial concerns. Ideally, I'd prefer an uncontested divorce or dissolution, but she may make it difficult. She's demanding that I sell the house and give her half or buy her out. I explained to her that the house was acquired before our marriage, so she doesn't have any rights to it. In response, she threatened to have her attorney contact me, and she expects me to cover the expenses. The thing is, both of us are currently unemployed with only a small amount of savings. I've been actively attending interviews, but she hasn't made any effort since getting fired while intoxicated. As mentioned, she is currently under supervision at the hospital and doesn't have access to the internet. It seems like she'll be there for several days and may even be transferred to an inpatient facility afterward. This gives me an opportunity to consult with an attorney and move forward with the divorce. I know it may sound harsh, but she ended up in the hospital because her lover rejected her. I don't want to be vengeful, as I still care for her and want her to find happiness. I'm not trying to make excuses for her, but her obsession has led her to make some terrible choices. However, it seems like now is the most suitable time to proceed with the divorce proceedings. I'm even considering obtaining a restraining order, or at least filing a motion for exclusive use of the home. She has been destructive in the house, and I have documented evidence of it. Additionally, she has been violent towards me, which is also well documented. Despite her claims that I was the aggressor, it's completely false. I only acted in self-defense. Update. I took a deep breath as I sat down at my desk, thinking about the tough journey that led me to this point. The divorce process was finally coming to an end, and I could almost taste the relief of moving forward. It hadn't been easy, but I found the strength to end the toxic relationship I was stuck in for too long. After getting a restraining order against my cheating wife, she finally left our home and didn't try to come back. This made the divorce process somewhat easier, and we were getting closer to finalizing it. I cut all ties with her, blocking her on every platform and removing her completely from my life. It was necessary for my own well-being and sanity. I heard from mutual friends that she was struggling financially. She was living with her parents, who bought her a car, and she had stopped drinking. It seemed like she was trying to turn her life around, even though it was a bit too late. When her best friend found out that my ex-wife had been involved in a close relationship with her own son, and the friend was furious. In a fit of anger and revenge, the friend slashed the tires of the new car her parents bought for her. It reminded me of the chaotic life I managed to escape. Out of the blue, my ex-wife's best friend reached out to me. She suggested that we spend some time together, just to take our minds off the difficult situation we were both going through. Surprisingly, I agreed to meet her. She had always been a pleasant person to be around, and I welcomed the distraction from the turmoil of my divorce. As we spent more time together, one thing led to another, and we ended up making love. It was a spontaneous moment of connection between two people who had been betrayed and hurt. In the aftermath, she came up with a crazy plan to further exacerbate my ex-wife's suffering. She suggested taking candid photos together and sending them to my ex-wife as a way to show her that we had moved on and found happiness without her. Perhaps it was the anger and hurt that clouded my judgment, but I agreed to her plan. I wanted my ex-wife to feel the pain she had caused me, even if it meant stooping to her level. That night, my ex-wife called her ex-best friend in hysterics, crying, screaming, and hurling insults, but we just laughed, wished her a happy life, and hung up the phone. It was a twisted moment of revenge and satisfaction I was more than ready to leave behind. I had severed all ties with my ex-wife, both legally and emotionally. It was time to move forward, embracing the possibilities that lay ahead. Second story. It's been exactly 2 weeks since the day I discovered my husband, 26M, exchanging messages with a couple of women on Snapchat, with one woman being the main focus. To add to the complexity, she is also married and has 2 kids. We just had our first baby 8 weeks ago. This particular woman was someone he had conversations with on various platforms, and he admitted to meeting up with her but denied anything beyond a kiss, which is hard to believe, I know. They had a history of being close, so I automatically assume they've been physically involved at some point in the past year because it just adds up, and he has a habit of lying. After the initial confrontation, he slowly revealed more details over the course of a few days, but only about things that I already had solid evidence of. There are still more revelations coming to light, and it's all because I have this relentless need to keep digging deeper and deeper into his electronic devices. As of today, I'm not certain if there's much else left for me to discover, although I thought the same a few days ago, and yet here we are. A few days ago, I requested to look at his phone, and he didn't hesitate to give it to me. As I was going through it, he fell asleep. Just as I was about to return his phone, he received a text message from a number saved as Nina Servicios. When I asked him the day after discovering the affair who this person was, he claimed it was an old woman who was one of his clients. It seemed strange to me, but since I didn't have any evidence to prove otherwise, I let it go. However, when I opened that text message, it contained 4 photos of different women lying on motel beds with their backs facing up and no faces visible. I immediately knew what these pictures represented. It made me feel sick to my stomach. But I couldn't help but think, wow, the universe works in mysterious ways. Despite feeling disgusted, I managed to remain calm and woke him up to ask him about it. He acted surprised and confused, which was obviously fake. I told him not to tell me that he had been close with those women. He denied it, claiming that he had only inquired about them. I confronted him about why he was inquiring about that type of girls if he had no intention of being close with them. He admitted that he had indeed considered it, but ultimately didn't go through with it. I asked if this inquiry happened during the 6-week postpartum period, when my doctor strongly advised against any closeness. He confessed that it did, and it completely shocked me. We had a heated argument about it, and I ended up leaving because I was utterly disgusted by him as a person. Later, I went online and checked our call logs from the past year. I noticed a few messages from a person who could be described as a pimp on 2 consecutive days. However, the number of messages was limited. I can't be sure whether he actually engaged with those incredibly cheap and likely unpleasant 403 or not, but my automatic assumption is that he did. I got myself tested, and fortunately, I'm fine, thank goodness. While going through the text and call logs, I also discovered the extent of his communication with the main affair partner. It was strange because sometimes they would go days, weeks, or even months without exchanging messages, and then suddenly there would be hundreds of texts and media messages in a single day. Apparently, their primary method of communication was Snapchat, so I can only imagine the content they shared before he deleted it. They also had Instagram messages, dating back to 2020, but unfortunately, those messages were deleted before I could read everything. Today, I took another deep dive into the digital realm. I know I need therapy, and I'm currently searching for a therapist. During this deep dive, I requested my data from Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram. In case you're not familiar, they send you all the information they have compiled from your accounts. Literally everything. I was really hoping that it would include any deleted information, but unfortunately, it didn't. However, I did come across some things that were still really upsetting. It turns out he was receiving pictures from girls, flirting with them, and even asking them to meet up. And get this, all of this happened after we got married. Can you believe it? We tied the knot back in 2018. So for a good 4 years, I've been out here looking like a fool. I put my complete trust in him, and all this time he was just making a mockery out of our relationship. I stumbled upon a Snapchat message from a girl about 3 months after we got married. It seems like he was probably trying to hit on her, although his messages were not saved. Only hers were, so I'm just making an educated guess here. But this girl's message basically told him to stop flirting with other girls and focus on his wife. I wish I could find her and give her a big hug, because clearly she actually has a moral compass, unlike these other women he was involved with. The craziest part about today is that despite finding all these disturbing things, I didn't even cry. I'm just completely drained and furious, and above all, I feel incredibly embarrassed. I never thought of myself as a fool. I actually consider myself to be smart and perceptive, but this whole situation has made me feel like such a joke. I placed absolute trust in him. I never questioned his whereabouts, his activities, or who he was with. I never asked to look through his phone. It never even crossed my mind. If anything, he was always the one questioning me, even though I never had any bad intentions. Now it all makes sense. It feels like he was just mocking me the entire time. He's begging me to work things out, swearing that I'm the only woman he wants. He talks about wanting to spend his life with me and all that stuff. He's acting very remorseful and promising to do whatever it takes to prove that he's done with all the immature behavior. He's calling himself stupid and an idiot for putting me through this for no reason at all. But it's really hard to believe anything he says when I keep uncovering more and more information. I still love my husband, but I hate that I love him now. I want to give him a chance, but I'm just mortified and disgusted that I'm with someone I clearly don't know. After telling my husband about the polygraph, he confessed to many things during a 3-hour conversation. While I can't be sure if he told me everything, I feel somewhat satisfied with the answers I got. He admitted to an emotional affair with the main partner, engaging in acts like making out with her at work and a laundromat. These incidents happened just before I gave birth, which deeply disturbs me. He also had closeness with another woman from the diner where he worked as a cook, along with 2 friends who had a pact to be involved with her. It's disheartening to realize my husband shared the same disrespectful behavior as those friends. Ironically, this woman had also tried to be friendly with me while we worked together at the diner. He then shared with me a story about a woman who was the wife of one of his landscaping clients. According to him, while he was working at their house, the wife approached him, and they started talking since they both share a Hispanic background. They exchanged numbers. It's worth mentioning that my husband is 26 years old, while this woman is 37 and married with 3 kids. I don't judge relationships with age gaps, but I thought it was important to mention. He explained that she began asking him for pictures, so he requested something in return. She sent some slightly provocative pictures, but nothing explicit. He admitted to sending her an inappropriate picture and mentioned plans to meet up on a Sunday, but it fell through due to her kids. However, I managed to find her phone number and her husband's phone number, so I will be contacting him today to share the photos and inform him about his wife's actions. Those were the 3 main questions/suspicions that were weighing heavily on my mind. We discussed other things, mostly details I already knew, but wanted more clarity on. Surprisingly, during our conversation, I didn't cry, yell, or scream. We maintained a civilized and calm tone while speaking to each other, and I felt a sense of relief wash over me. It was as if I had finally been freed from a cage I had been trapped in. I asked him why he did all of this, and he simply admitted that he was foolish and didn't fully comprehend what he would be losing if he lost me. When I inquired about why he pursued other women and engaged in conversations with them throughout our entire 4-year marriage, he confessed that it was a pattern he had always had and didn't know how to stop. He claimed that none of those women meant anything to him, and he would use them and discard them. He explained that in a past relationship, he had been deeply hurt, so he adopted a mentality of hurting others before they could hurt him. Unfortunately, he carried this mindset into our relationship and didn't know how to switch it off. Personally, I feel that his explanation hints at sociopathic tendencies, which is quite unsettling.